BYAustin, music artist, presenter, and creative entrepreneur. Over the years, I have met up with successful Africans in business, fashion, lifestyle, and entertainment in and outside of the continent. I discovered that our success stories are endless. I have decided to unveil them one by one. Join me on Africa on Focus as I talk on how Africans are making Africa the future and why you should be a part. Africa in Focus, sharing the stories of the African successful. Oh, na, 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 na. Oh, na, 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 na. We ain't even got a track on it. I got many blessings, I can brag on it. I've been through the fire, I can talk on it. And I heard that in the streets that they got love for me. Oh, shell, Papa. No, Papa gotta make me turn my swag on. They badu me anytime when the song on. They see the light be shining when it wrong on. Now you see, say we there run the city. I don't think that any one of you could step to titty. I just wanna sing the song, break it down, oh yeah, shake it to the ground, oh yeah, chop for me. I don't bear for a long, alright, it's okay. I don't bear for a long, oh yeah, cool mole. I don't bear for a long. If I start to talk, the thing with my back, all the don't do it, no going. My brother, you no going. If I start to count the blessing Baba God it gives me when no going. My brother, you know going. You when me be on some corner, I know. Oh no, you me CCTV, baby, and any woman so. Even if I walk through the valley of death, I know the fear. And every day be Jackado. You want me be on some corner, no. Oh no, yeah, me CCTV, baby, and any woman so. Even if I walk through the valley of death, I know the fear. And every day be Jackado. I don't be a son anymore. I don't be a demon. I don't be a demon. And to ninja nechida. I don't be a son anymore. I don't be a. And to ninja nechida. I don't be a son anymore. I don't be a demon. I don't be a demon. And to ninja nechida. I don't be a son anymore. I don't be, and to me, Johnny cheat. Oh, yeah, would me be on some corner, no. Wanna hear the CCTV, baby, and any woman so. Even if I walk through the valley of death, I know the fear. And every day be Jackado. What's up, everybody? Hey, this is that Sunday again. I'm your host, MS.ABA, and you are listening to the voice of the next generation, the one and only High Radio. Here we are back again, and of course, you know that I don't really stop with bringing on, information, all matters rising in Africa, and so much more. I don't stop. I just won't ever stop.
But anyway, it's what, the 27th of September 2020. Time flies. The infamous, or should we say the crazy 2020 has taken us like throughout the what, second quarter. We're almost headed toward the last quarter of the year, and it's been something. But hey, we're back again. I'm thankful for another day as this Sunday, and also to celebrate that, High Radio is fully back in action. High Radio is fully back in power mode. High Radio is fully back to you again, live from the studio in Amsterdam. As you can see, I'm still on lockdown mode, and that is because yesterday we had this cool launch at the studio. All of us came on introducing, our show, talking about what we have headlined. But Corona requires particular measures. So the producer Slim, shout out to Slim, asked me, what, we have to make sure that everything is COVID proof after the launch, and making sure everything is settled as we, start our show, and as we individually do our show, but in all cleanliness, hygiene, and COVID free. So I said, you know what, no problem. Let's just take this conversation at home. I think I could just run this show anywhere in the world, alone from missing the buttons and everything, and switching and music and all of that. We'll just do fine. Welcome everybody. Again, I am Miss.ABA. It is so good to be, talking to you, engaging with you. Welcome to every Sunday Africa on Focus, where we share our success stories. Myself, alongside my co host Donnie, who I will be getting in. By the way, every week we talk on all matters rising within our communities, connecting global Africans. Speaking of our impact, how can we grow? How can we build? And how can we develop ourselves? Today we have a real interesting topic. I am, encouraging everybody to move back to Africa and work, if you ask me. But this is for all of the global Africans that are particularly interested, because we will be talking to one of the founders of Move Me Back. And Move Me Back is a prominent, real platform, like a real platform, that offers jobs, community, and so much more as it relates to moving back to the continent. This is a platform where, actually, when you call them, they'll get back to you. We're going to talk about that. I've dealt with platforms that, once you apply for something, like you'll be waiting for 6 months, you'll be like, "Ooh, what happened? Have I been forgotten?" But anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. Let me welcome Donnie, and then we will be going on to our conversation on why it is vital to move back to the continent. Let's get Donnie on board here.
It is vital.
Hey, Donnie, how are you?
Hello, good evening. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Good to be
I
back.
just feel like it has been a long time. Is it me?
No, it has been it has
Right?
been some weeks. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How are
We
you
were on a
holding up?
well-deserved break. On a well-deserved break.
Well, it was a good break, but actually, I know you've managed to stay quite busy during your break. It wasn't even a break
Ah,
for you,
no, it wasn't. I'm
but yeah, it was all right.
guilty. Right, right. But I've been good. I've been good. I've had quite of an interesting week. I think for
Mm-hmm.
me has been a week of, listen, you have to get rest. You have to know when you're breaking. How do we, manage in, how do we put in our breaks within the hectic schedule? I think that's a challenge for me.
Yeah, it is. And it remains a challenge. Even though this corona, one of the positive thing is the fact that because you're not, let's say, allowed to go out that
Yeah,
often, you kind of
right.
like think you can manage your time properly as you stay indoors.
Yeah,
But still, people still find ways to keep themselves quite busy and over
yeah,
time and over scheduled and over, let's say, occupied.
yeah.
But yeah, so that challenge remains, as in, how to structure your time, your day, to get enough rest and still to be productive.
It does. It does. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. How has your week been? How has your day been? Yeah. Well, ending of September. This is the last Sunday of September. Can you believe that?
So let's see that after September, how many months left? 3 months, yeah?
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah, and then we're nearing the end of the year.
Yeah.
My week has been good. It has been good. Nothing unusual.
Hmm.
How about yours?
It's been a bit of online church. We still meet online, and then in the afternoon working,
Right.
and just planning towards my whole week. That's just really what it's been about. But I've been really
Mm,
excited for this talk that we're
for
gonna
this
have.
season.
I know
Yeah,
you
me
want to
too.
move back to
Right,
the
yeah. So
continent.
I'm personally invested in this conversation.
Really?
Oh yeah, it is.
Uh,
Yeah. See what kind of information I can get out of it.
Yeah, that sounds extra interesting. And also a shout out to Samantha Ajua, who is like our true fan from the city of New York, who's saying hi there. I'm looking forward to today's discussion. Thank you for tuning in with us, Samantha. I appreciate all of the
Yep.
support
Thank you.
and all of the love. I am also looking forward to today's discussion. And
Oh, that's good.
also a shout out to Divine Betty, who's saying interesting subject. I know it is interesting, and also to pick on the brain behind Move Me Back, which is such a platform. Even if I point out
Right.
any like African student today, I talk about Move Me Back. They're like, oh yeah, I know that. I know that lady. I know the platform. It is absolutely amazing. So
Oh.
I'm really excited about talking to Oyin Solebo. If I say it right, she
Hmm.
has to correct me on that one. I know it's a Nigerian name, and I always like to do my best to pronounce the African names like rightfully.
Right. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
either it's I'm gonna do a guess. Either it's Solebo or it's Solebo. One of those. I'm sure we're gonna ask her.
Yeah.
A phenomenal woman who we have today as our special guest, one that I've engaged with before. She's a phenomenal entrepreneur and lady behind the scenes and doing so much work. We know of one of them that is Move Me Back. And we are going to talk to her about why working in Africa is vital. And she is co-founder of Move Me Back. One of the amazing things that she does, a members-only community connecting overseas leaders, influencers, talents, and organizations to unique, exclusive, and exciting high potential opportunities on the African continent. She does that and so much more. Let me just welcome this lady,
Mhm.
Oyin. Hi there, Oyin. How are you?
Hey, I'm
Hello. Good
really good.
evening.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
absolutely.
can.
Good.
I,
Nice to
I hope
meet you.
I hope you can hear us too with no delays.
It seems that way.
How has been your Sunday?
Hmm.
My Sunday has been, unfortunately, like most Sundays, which means I've been at my desk for most of it.
Yeah,
Saw
know
a
that
little bit of
feeling.
my family. Spent a little bit of time on myself this morning and, a bit of, reflection, meditation, whatever you may want to call it. But yeah, a lot of work. Such is the life of an entrepreneur, I think.
Oh my gosh. It's just like I now keep an alarm on to make sure that, I take a
Hmm.
break. I go to bed on time.
I like that. I like that. Set aside calendar time for me time. I need to start doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And I think scheduling in the me time is also very good. Myself and Donnie, we've spoken to, remember Donnie, we have one that has no digital Sunday. What else did
Yeah. No.
we did we
No cell phone
discover?
Sunday.
Yeah,
Um.
on a Saturday we have.
From from Palgrave, we have the documentary Fridays. Every
Oh,
Friday, one document. Watch one documentary to get some knowledge.
I had even forgotten about that.
That's
So we're
that's
keen to
been
learn if you have any like tip or this
yeah
golden
a
routine that you
habit.
have, feel free to share because I
Right.
think it's very needed for people like us.
I mean, I have the tips, but if you ask me whether or not I practice them, that's another question. At various times I've tried to do things like schedule half an hour at the end of the day to make sure it's me time to really reflect on the day. I've tried to
Yeah.
schedule an hour at the beginning of the day to do that. My co-founder Charles and I at some point had a 2-hour schedule in our calendar to make sure that we spend the time together reflecting on the week. Have we stuck to any of those? Not, not so much, but I definitely suggest trying it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Good. So Ian, we would like to know how have you been in this lockdown period? Like, where are you at this point of the journey, as we would call it?
Yeah, so I have to admit, lockdown has been, I would say it's been good to me, and the reasons why I think is I think you guys were reflecting before I joined is it's really forced everyone to kind of reflect on what's important, and refocus their efforts, and I've definitely been doing that. I've also spent time spending more time with my family, getting on calls with my friends, actually calling friends, rather than WhatsApping and having meaningful conversations. So for me, it's been good. It's also been a really humbling and really, an experience to really learn. It's,
Yeah.
obviously we're working in the world of a lot of the work that Movemeback does is in relation to helping people find opportunities. And it's really shocking when you have conversations with people that have a lot of skills who 6 months ago could have commanded 6-figure salaries and are
Yeah.
now are, looking for overnight jobs at warehouses. And I think for me, this time has been really, really humbling and just shown
Yeah.
me how much I have and how grateful we should all be for who we have in our lives and what we have in our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how has this been in terms of business? Because you mentioned, you're now talking to people who've had what figure salary, and
Yeah.
then, there's a type of like a repositioning or something like that. How has it been for you in terms of business and the people that, that are your, not your clients, but the people that you actually support with your work?
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much transition going on in terms of individuals who are finding opportunities as well as organizations that have these
Yeah.
opportunities. So when COVID started, we really expected that if we just look at the recruitment work that we're doing, we really expected it to take a huge hit. And it did to begin with, but then earlier than we expected, business started to come back. So organisations were hiring when we thought they wouldn't be hiring. And I think what COVID has really done is it's really almost polarised individuals as well as polarised organisations between those who weren't so innovative and saw it as, COVID's happening, we have no choice but to shut, to stop shop. And I
Yeah.
think in some industries that has not, they've almost had no choice, but in other industries there has been a choice. And then on the other side, you've had organizations which I guess like Movemeback, we really took it as an opportunity to start some of those projects that we've been wanting to start for a while and some of those programs that we've been wanting to start for a while. So we had a lot of organizations in that space, the more innovative type organization who at some point came back to us and said, yeah, we were supposed to stop hiring, but in order for us to innovate, in order for us to keep going and make sure that we come out of COVID on the other side stronger, they've actually restarted hiring. But I think also what it has done is it's really opened up what opportunity means to individuals. So opportunity has for a while not always meant, full-time jobs, but that's increasingly becoming the case. So, the gig economy is becoming even more prevalent. Individuals looking for remote opportunities, working on projects, volunteering their time to get exposure to new industries, new sectors, new functions, working together more to start things and build projects in whatever, additional time that they now have. We're really seeing a lot of that going on and really seeing a lot of people using Movemeback to find these opportunities, find each other and engage in creating and building outside of formal full-time work.
Yeah. That's an interesting observation, really. Remote work, that's really one of the, I think for people who already do remote work or independent work slash freelancers, this is pretty much for them like, hey, this is welcome to my world.
Yeah, they've been doing, yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've really noticed that. So Ian, I would really like to like go back to your journey because now obviously we know you because of one of your the highlights of your entrepreneurial work, Move Me Back. but I also discovered so much more about you. I mean, there's a brain behind the platform. There's a strategic thinker, and so much more. Could you tell us, in your own words, where your journey began and how it ended up being fully managing a platform and doing so much more for Africa?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so I'm Nigerian of heritage, as you quite rightly said. It's Solebo, actually. SH is how you pronounce it. Um,
I was
there's a
wrong.
dot under the under the S, which makes it a sh.
Right.
And yeah, Nigerian heritage, but born and bred in the UK. As you can tell, my accent suggests I've been
Sure.
here for far too long. But I started off in the world of investment banking. I then spent some time in strategy consulting, went back to investment management for a little while before starting to work with my co-founder, Charles, about 6, 7 years ago now, actually. And we both came together because both of us had this realization and this itch that said that there's only so much impact you can make when you're working on the corporate world. You know, for me as an investment banker, adding a few basis points to someone's massive portfolio, it just wasn't really cutting it for me. It wasn't really making the kind of impact in the world that I really wanted to. And I really felt that for me to make the impact that I wanted to, entrepreneurship was going to be my avenue. So we started working together about 6, 7 years ago. In that process, we built and strategized and grown a number of businesses. Some have failed, some have not. We've learned a lot along the way. But Movemeback was the one that we never really set out to create, interestingly enough. But it's really almost an amalgamation of all of the learnings that we've had during our entrepreneurial journey. So we never set out to create it. We both set out to move back to Africa, to Nigeria for myself and to Ghana for him, respectively, and to find a way to translate the skills and the knowledge that we built in the UK into an African setting. And we just found it incredibly difficult to do that. And it was at a time when a lot of our peers were looking to move back as well. So a lot of them were trying to re-engage. They were asking us, what kind of opportunities are out there when you go back? Tell me what's going on, etc. And something that started really, really organically just grew into, Movemeback as it is today. So yeah, it's not something that we kind of sat down and strategized. It's something that grew organically, and then in the process of doing it, the strategy then came to surround what was a very personal need for us and a personal need for those around us.
Wow, that's really good. So from what I get, it really started from it was pretty much one of your ventures, right? From you and your co-founder.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And how was it starting things? I mean, starting up the platform, and especially an idea relating to Africa. Was it new? Was it like totally new? Because obviously a lot of people go back home just for family visits. How was that experience and that part of starting out?
Yeah, so as I said, it was kind of organic. We never set out to create this technology platform of 50,000 individuals connecting to find opportunity and share opportunities with each other. We just set about to find almost opportunities for ourselves, really. But slowly, more and more people were asking us to help facilitate a connection for them as well, and it became very apparent that there was this clear need. And similarly for organizations that we were speaking to, when we were trying to move back ourselves, a lot of them were saying, hey, you guys don't move back, go back to London and bring more people back like you. So it was really through that kind of organic process of connecting individuals to opportunities that we were seeing that Movemeback, gave birth, or we gave birth to Movemeback. And then we started slowly, we started with a small platform where people could come in and tell us a little bit about themselves, what kind of opportunities they were looking for, what skills they wanted to use from an African perspective. And through learning and listening to our members in our community, Movemeback constantly developed and grew into what it is today. And it's interesting, now we're actually at a stage of completely redeveloping Movemeback. So you mentioned it's a member platform at the moment where people have to kind of apply to join Movemeback. but over the next couple of months are actually transforming that into a more open platform. And that has come out of, again, just listening to the community, listening to what it is that they actually want and the value that we can add. So Movemeback's about to take another little, steer in the road.
Okay. We're looking out for that. We're looking out for that, definitely. In the meantime, for those of you just tuned in, welcome to Africa on Focus, presented to you on High Radio. And I promise every Sunday that myself and Donnie, we invite some person, some impactful, influential person that can tell us more about the continent, help us grow our community, help us grow our career or business. And this time around, I am kind of starting a mini campaign where I encourage everybody or every
Mm-hmm.
African, every enthusiast to work on the continent. Why it is vital, we are learning more about that. We are talking to Oyin because she is one of the founder behind Movemeback, the platform, the community, now a membership only community that it's like, yeah, bridging the gap between the rest of the world and the continent for those that want to move back, work,
Mm-hmm.
and put in all of the energy that is somewhat in the air, or maybe somewhat stocked in your closet, or some push somewhere else. You can put that into a career on the continent. And we're talking to her. She's given us so much ideas and knowledge on how she started off as a female entrepreneur, because we also like we celebrate any female entrepreneur who is still on her journey and in growing businesses. So we're actually delighted to have her here on the show to talk to us about that. Before we're going to
Mm-hmm.
go on with the interview, make sure that you spread the word on your timeline if you're tuning in via Facebook or YouTube as well. If you are listening to High Radio via our app, just make sure that you tell others about it through WhatsApp. I'm sure you could share it. Just spread the word as we are engaging with her, of course. Oyin, I would really like to know how did you meet up with Charles? How did that happen? And when did you know that, as far as your businesses are concerned, that starting it with somebody is actually, better for you? Or how do you even start the co-founder thing?
Yeah, so Charles and I actually, we've known each other since we were about 18, 19. So both, I was LSE and he was Imperial at the time. And we worked on, or we joined a leadership program for ethnic minorities. So we met, but many moons ago. And then when we were both in the corporate world, so I think he was at Accenture or McKinsey at the time, and when I was still at Goldman's, we would meet with another individual every other weekend and just be plotting about how we were going to, leave the corporate world. And then a couple of years after that, we started working together more formally. And, that relationship obviously grew into what is quite a solid co-founder relationship at the moment.
Yeah.
And I would totally, I would absolutely say that entrepreneurship and starting your own business, it's hard. It is a really hard journey. And if you can find that one person or a couple of people to do it with that you trust and whose skills complement each other, then I would absolutely say it. And I think that's a really key thing when you are looking for a co-founder. I think it's a decision that people should not make lightly. This co-founder, you're probably going to spend more time with them than you do your husband or wife if you're married, your children, your family. You will see each other at your worst, you'll see each other at your best. So I would say don't go into that relationship lightly. Don't assume that because someone is a good friend of yours that you're going to be able to work really, really well together. I'd say really, really consider it. And then really think about whether or not your skills complement each other. So Charles and I, we share a vision. We share a vision for the African continent. We are both passionate about job creation on the continent. We're both passionate about collaboration and connection and enabling people to find their purpose and to translate that into making positive impact on the continent. So we have that connecting North Star. But in terms of our skills, completely different. Charles is he's a big picture thinker. He's someone that will come up with concepts that most people don't quite understand. And
Yeah.
I'm someone who, I understand his concepts and I'm able to kind of translate them into a way that people do understand, and make sure he's thinking about the why, I'm thinking about the how and the what. So the strengths that he has are completely opposite to the strengths that I have. And again, that makes for a really, really strong co-founding relationship. So yeah, don't go into it lightly, and make sure that the person that you pick really complements the strengths that you have and the weaknesses that you have.
But do you reckon it could be easier on doing it, let's say by yourself, than having to partner up with someone else
Yeah, I would say that it might be easier in some respects. So if you're someone that, you don't like someone questioning you, you don't like arguments every now and these are constructive arguments, but you don't like to be challenged, then you might want to do it yourself. Or if you're someone who, you want to do it your way or no way at all, then perhaps do it yourself. But I think what I've found is that in all areas of my working life is that when you want to get to the right decision, having people that come with different perspectives and having people that come from different skill sets is really, really important in coming to the right decision. So it's difficult, but I think it enables us to get to a better decision than we would have done otherwise. The other thing I would say is that I think being a co-founder, and I don't think people talk about this enough, it's very emotionally draining. It's a lot of hard work, and having someone who you can share that with and be vulnerable with and say, I'm having a hard day today, my brain isn't working, I can't quite figure this out, and they can give you the boost that you need or fill that gap that you have. It's a really, really powerful tool. So I'd say, having a co-founder is certainly not for the faint-hearted, but neither is doing entrepreneurship. So I would say doing it with the right person is better than doing it with no one at all.
Yeah, very important. Rather than figuring it out all by yourself. And I love what you mentioned about, I am, Charles is more the person of why we're doing it, and you were the other form of questions. But I'm sure that you, as a co-founder, you as an entrepreneur, strategic thinker, had to really figure out your why. And you shared a bit about that, that, you were passionate about supporting people that in their quest of finding a job for the continent. How did you discover your why? And again, how would you explain or share what your why really is?
Yeah. So I'd say that my why has really developed over the years through doing entrepreneurship and through understanding more about myself. I think when I started, my why was quite broad in that I wanted to use business as a vehicle to make positive change. I was lucky enough to have spent a lot of time in the corporate world, in investment, in strategy, and I wanted to use those skills that I developed to somehow make positive change in the world.
Yeah.
And then I think what I found, and I think what we as a co-founding team found, is that every business that we did, it seemed to have this a tangent running through it. So we've launched a few businesses, and what we found is that they all had a connection around collaboration, and a connection around bringing people together for positive outcomes and crowdsourcing insights and people kind of fulfilling their purposes. And this ranges from, one of the companies we started was a company called Agony App, which was a just cheeky little mobile app that people downloaded to share advice on their relationships. And it did really, really well. We had something like 30,000 downloads in the first week.
Okay, look at that.
Yeah, I mean, we were covered by the press, but we stopped doing that, not because it wasn't doing well, but because there was something that wasn't quite connecting us to our why. We had another business called Meet, which was, it enabled people to buy snippets of expert advice. So you could go on the platform and say, I need 30 minutes advice on a marketing plan, and then buy 30 minutes of someone's time. So that again, it was very much around collaboration, helping people fulfill their purpose, enabling people to connect and share insights. And that didn't work for a whole range of other reasons, which actually the learnings from that came back into Movemeback. And there are a few other businesses. And what we found is that there was really more to our why than positive impact. It was also around the enabling and facilitating of important, meaningful connections. And now I think what my personal why is it's all around enabling people to make the connections that they need to contribute in a meaningful way, with the end goal being job creation on the African continent. So both of us are really driven to the idea and this vision of creating 500 million jobs in Africa over the next 15 years. And we really believe that one of the biggest facilitators for doing that is creating transparency and connections between individuals who can make impact and who can drive opportunities forward. So yeah, so my why is it's all about collaboration, it's all around connections, and it's all around enabling people to contribute and drive job creation in Africa.
Yeah, I love that. I
That's
love that
beautiful.
because it always, because how you even sharing your story, that why always comes back. And if that why is not complete, then you know, like, okay, we're kind of off.
Yeah,
Even though the particular business is successful, it's not fully driven by what our passion really is. And I really like that because I feel that especially in these times, a lot of people that haven't discovered their why kind of
Right.
collapse or something, or their world just
yeah,
totally collapses once their business does. And I feel that if someone like you is able to formulate, okay, this is why I do what I do, whether it's one business in 2016 or the other in 2022, it will just always be there. And
yeah,
that's really what
Mm.
I love
Yeah.
about that. And it's
And this
quite
and
a challenge.
and
Yeah.
discovering that why is a journey in itself. Um, can you tell us where or if there were moments that like that drew you closer to your why? As in, I'm sure in the beginning you weren't sure what was missing, but you felt like, okay, I'm like, there's a lack of something, or I'm not seeing something clear, but I'm feeling it. And then you experience something that, that's it. All right. And then you moved on to the next step, and like that journey, how that was for yourself.
yeah. I think there are so many small things along the way that really tell you whether or not you're on your purpose, driving the right direction or not. It's small things like, when I wake up and I'm shattered, I'm so tired and I want to go back to bed.
Mm.
Do I get out of bed because I'm really driven by what I want to do, or do I kind of, put the sheets back over myself? And I think when you're working in, or when you're doing something where it doesn't matter how tired you are, you actually want to get up and do it, that tells you that you're right in the right path. Or it's small things like, MS.ABA, you were speaking earlier about how, you go to conferences and you speak to young people and you say, hey, have you done if you're thinking about moving back, check out Movemeback. And for me, it's those small experiences. It's that going to a conference and speaking to a young person and them saying, hey, you're from Movemeback, and them telling you how it changed their perceptions of Africa, how it opened them up to new possibilities. I had one occasion where someone came and said, oh my gosh, I'm moving to Ghana in 2 weeks' time because you guys have helped me find an opportunity and
Oh, wow.
move back. And I was just like, that is just so cool,
Right.
because this is someone who, and so many of us, we want to contribute, we want to move back, we want to, we want to go back to a place that we call home, but we just don't know how to do it. And for me, that those one-off conversations where you're speaking to someone and they're just telling you about how it personally changed their life, that for me
Hmm.
tells me that, yeah, I've found my why. This is worth doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It must be kind of a sort of a fulfillment that you um, just I don't know. It would give me a sense of completion. I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it would
yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
So let's talk about Africa. How are there any like are there any changes as in terms of Africa when you started relating to how it is now? and what are some of the interesting developments or growth that you have observed?
Yeah, so I think first of all, when we started in 2015, I think was when we formally started,
Yeah.
um, it was it was an interesting time. You know, The Economist had changed from talking about Africa, the hopeless continent, to Africa Rise. You had a lot of business schools and universities who
Yeah.
were suddenly looking at, setting up these Africa conferences. You had a lot of people who were going back more and more because of the rise of Afrobeats and streaming, content streaming services coming out that really kind of made people think, oh, I want to, there's something here that I want to re-engage with. So it was almost like when we started, there was this rebirth and this realization of a lot of us in the diaspora we're almost missing a trick by not contributing, not going back to the African continent. So it happened at a time when there was like a steep increase in interest in the African continent. Very quickly, what we found is that the year after, Nigeria went into recession, and there are too many of us around. So whatever was happening in Nigeria, the rest, everyone thought might happen in the continent.
Almost 200 million.
Too many of us. So Nigeria went into recession. We also had a lot of people who had moved back really quickly, starting to come back to the UK. And I have to admit, I moved back to Nigeria in 2009, and in 2010 I came back to the UK, and we saw that happening again in 2016, 2017.
Right.
And the reason why was that people went back, and I went back with the same mindset, thinking, I'm going to go and I'm going to be having champagne. I'm going to be, popping champagne every day, and I'm going to be at beach parties, and really thinking they're going to live this glamorous life, because that's the life you live when you go back for holidays and for Christmas. Without the real insight about what it actually takes to live and succeed on the continent, without the real connections they needed to understand some of the complexities that they had to go through. We saw a lot of people also going back and then coming back to the UK because they'd gone back with almost this savior complex, this belief that because you are from the diaspora, you should be able to earn more than people that haven't left, or you should be in more senior positions than people that haven't left. And going back and realizing actually how much talent there is on the continent, and that you are competing, you still need to compete, you still need to show your value. I think, again, not enough of us went back with that mindset. So that's been an interesting journey from kind of a personal perspective, and seeing, individuals come back and go again. And then I think more from a macro perspective, I think more and more we're seeing how much the rest of the world is doing in Africa, and how much the rest of the world are engaged in Africa. And if I think we as diasporans don't engage more, and if those of us on the continent don't do more to make sure that the work that is going aligns with the interests of the African, where we land, it could, it could be questionable. It's very interesting. We see a lot of, if you look at what China is doing in the African continent and how much they invest and lend through their Belt and Road Initiative, and if you look at how much US are investing, and they are quite openly saying that they're doing so to almost combat what China and Russia are doing in Africa. When you look at the amount of corporate interest from Total's 200 billion, natural gas project in Mozambique, to Facebook's underwater interconnectivity, the rest of the world is looking at Africa. And I think if us diasporans don't kind of wake up and see that, and look at how we can contribute to make sure that the interests are aligned with those of us in Africa, then we're missing a real opportunity.
Yeah. Well said. Just going back to you, because I'm hearing you, you've experienced the waves of people going to the continent. They'll be like, you know what, I'm going back to the life of routine, just knowing that my paycheck comes in my account every 24th of the month, that type of thing. Would you say that people would just are lacking a plan of, going back to the continent. Would you say that, or are there other factors that that led up to these waves of people going back eventually?
Yeah, I think there are a few factors at play. I think, first of all, you had people who may have not gone back with really well, really detailed plans, perhaps not through not wanting a plan, but because of the lack of access to the information and the access to opportunities that they ideally would have wanted. So I think Ms.ABA spoke about when people use Movemeback, someone will come back to you. And we've heard all sorts of stories. We've heard of people that have gone back with a plan. They think they've secured a job. They think that job has secured them housing. They've gone, they've arrived, and they found out that job doesn't exist, that building doesn't exist. So we've had some real horror stories of people with really, really detailed plans. We've also heard a lot of success stories of people that have not gone back with a plan because they've not been able to find that opportunity from afar. They've gone back, they've moved in with auntie or uncle, and then they've networked their way through to a great opportunity. And it may have taken them 6 months, but they've done it. So I would say that what was lacking, hopefully before Movemeback, hopefully we're doing something to change that, was just access and transparency. The continent very much is a place where a lot is done by word of mouth and a lot is done by who you know. In the developed markets, in the UK and US, they say that something like 70% of jobs aren't even advertised. On the continent, I'm not sure if that statistic is true, but whatever that statistic is, it's even bigger on the continent because of the nature of the environment. It's still very much based on who you know, etc. So yeah, I would say that a lot of people did go back without plans, but it wasn't necessarily through not wanting one. It was perhaps through there not being access to the information that they needed to make that plan. So we're really trying to change that with Movemeback. We're really trying to give people a lot more transparency about where the opportunities are, where the real opportunities are. So it's not on some sites you'll find opportunities, you'll find jobs only to realize that they are years old, or they've been pulled from another data source and dumped on a site. All of the opportunities on Movemeback, they have been curated. So we're speaking to the opportunity owners. They are real. But even more important than that, I think in some cases, is connecting individuals. So if you're moving from London to Lagos, you've got a local community that you can actually connect with to say, hey, I really like this type of cheese. Where can I buy it from? I really need to set up a bank account. Where would give me some advice on how you do it? And all of those small things really make the transition a little bit easier.
So for, let's say, a person who is interested in going back, like myself, I do not have a plan. Let's say I don't have a plan. I do have family members. How would but I don't have a plan, so no job, nothing. I do have qualifications. But what I do know is I do not want to, let's say, I want to work as a freelancer or as an entrepreneur. I don't want to be in the workforce or work full-time in the corporate world, let's say. So how would Movemeback help me in this journey of me moving back to Ghana, Accra?
Yeah, good question. And you're not alone. You are exactly the what makes up a big percentage of the Movemeback community for those outside of the continent anyway. I think the first thing that I would always say to someone is explore. First of all, explore the different types of opportunities that is going on. Because I think for me, when I first started doing Movemeback, what was really eye-opening to me is just the breadth of opportunities that I just had no idea existed because I was living in the UK. So I'd say that, the first thing is a lot of people use the Movemeback platform as just a way of getting access to the types of opportunities that exist and to better understand what is going on in the continent, to understand the difference in the fintech sector in Nigeria versus Kenya, to understand how agriculture, what seems like, to some may seem like a boring, dirty industry or whatever, is employing so many people, and there's such an impressive move towards changing the cultures from subsistence farming to adding value. How, in Rwanda they are using drones to facilitate the transportation of blood and health supplies and medication, etc. So I'd say, firstly, just explore, just keep your mind open to everything that's there, because you'll be surprised about what's going on the continent that you may not be aware of. The second thing I would say is try and find ways to get a taste of opportunities without actually being on the continent. So, with COVID happening, with people getting more akin to remote work, more comfortable with remote working, with the number of informal opportunities that we see out there are loads of opportunities for you to engage in an informal way. That might be you might be you giving your services in a particular project. It might be you advising a startup. It might be you mentoring some startups. It might be you investing in a few companies who are looking for seed capital, but that gives you a way of understanding what's going on in those sectors. So I'd say use Movemeback to explore all these different types of opportunities, which are all there. And then I'd say, thirdly, connect with individuals. Let it be known what you're after. Let it be known that you are looking for remote opportunities, and use the Movemeback platform to say, this is what I'm looking for. These are the kind of people that I want to connect with, and have conversations to understand from their first-hand knowledge how you might be able to use your skills in the context of wherever you want to move back to. And then we can start talking about, that full-time or that remote role or that project that it is that you want to establish. So I'd say, you called it a journey. It really is a journey of exploration. And it really has to come from a place of us understanding that if we're outside of the continent and we're not in it all day, every day, there is so much for us to learn, and there is so much for us to see. And we need to be really, really open to that. I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, and that last advice. I mean, my mom has also been on my let's say, been demanding of me to start creating a network. That's how she's like, yeah. So she's giving me some contacts who are in Ghana themselves, and she's like, start giving them a call, tell them, hey, this is how far I am, and this is what I'm looking for. How is business? What's it like? Just have a chat with them about things so they know of what you're looking for, or what may suit you or fit you when you finally get on that plane to arrive in Accra. Then they can also help you the better. I've been working on it, or let's say I have to really get on it, especially hearing from yourself.
Yeah, it's so interesting how all our parents said that. I remember, 10, 15 years ago, my parents saying the same to me, call that auntie, make that connection. And me thinking, why do I need to do that? And it's only when I kind of started to pursue the world of work in the African continent that I understood why they were saying that. And it's because everything is very much based on who you know. But we really believe at Movemeback that there's only so much development and only so much progress that can happen. If you're choosing the person to take that opportunity based on the small circle of who you know, you're quite possibly missing out on the right person you need to enable that opportunity to thrive, to build a stronger business, to employ more people in the future. So yes, I'd say, we should all be doing that, but also use Movemeback to connect with people based not on who you already know or who your parents know, but just based on your pure interest, and connecting based on opportunity rather than connecting based on existing network.
Yeah, I think those are good points. Definitely, I'll remember that. People taking notes, and not to forget, consult Movemeback for that. Before we almost getting into our last 10 minutes as we talk to Oyin about is it connecting the rest of the world, global Africans, to working on the continent? If you have any questions, feel free to drop them if you are listening or watching on Facebook and YouTube. so that we can have the opportunity to ask Oyin. Shout out to Samantha Ajua from New York City, who just dropped a few questions. I will not forget your questions. I'll be definitely asking Oyin to answer that, because people really love the part where you talked about your why, and also love the part where you talked about, starting out your journey. In this case, one of your many things that you do as a strategist, a Movemeback. One thing that I also would like to know, because one thing that, people say, it's just this sentence or statement that keeps coming back: Africa is not a country. And I would really like to know from you, in terms of Africa, the continent. I think what really helps people have an idea of how the continent runs, or let's just say I'm talking about sub-Sahara Africa. They have East is a bit of this, West is a bit of that, South is this and this and that. What are some of the developments or some of the things that people should look out for, things that you have observed as it relates to different parts of our continent? How does that look from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So you mentioned people moving outside of Africa in, but what we actually also see a lot of is people moving within the continent, based on where their skills lie. So for example, what you might find in East Africa is that obviously the proliferation of technology and mobile has meant that organized companies that are tech enabled have been able to grow a lot faster in Kenya than they may have, or in East Africa than they may have been able to in Nigeria, where it's still very much a cash based society. So people talk quite generically, for example, about fintech in the African continent, but fintech in Kenya is very different from fintech in Nigeria, for example, because of those regulatory constraints. So I'd certainly say that for anyone that's looking for opportunity, it's very important, as you say, to be very, very specific and very mindful of the countries that you're going on based on your industry, based on your functional interests as well as your industry interests. But what we're also seeing is that, yes, Africa is a continent of many countries, very, very different. But what we're seeing is that a lot of startups and companies are taking regionally focused, are looking regionally when they're building their business rather than just one country. Why? Well, it might be because, when they are looking to scale, they realize that you can only achieve a certain level of scale if you're only looking at one country. So, for example, we work with a lot of companies in Kenya who are looking for regional managers because they're looking at how they can take advantage of, free trade agreements that have happened through the EAC in East Africa and how East Africa is operating as a bloc. We see that, in West Africa, for example, when companies are looking at tackling both Francophone Africa and Anglophone Africa, because you've got to remember, people talk about Nigeria and Ghana as being neighbours without forgetting that actually we're not neighbours, and there's a lot of we're not physically next to each other, and also you've got Francophone Africa operating in West Africa. So we see companies that, when they are looking at West Africa, they are setting foot in in Ghana, because of the proximity to Francophone Africa, as well as the apparent connection with Nigeria. So, even though we talk about, yes, the countries are very, very different and the operating environment is very different depending on where you are, we are still seeing organizations take that regional focus. And I think that's something that we should also be mindful. So if you're looking at moving back to Nigeria, it might be that if you're operating in a company, if you're operating in a sector that is doing better in Ghana, think about moving to Ghana. Think about how you can translate those skills that you have in Ghana first, and then look at a regional, block. Now, things like visa requirements, depending on where you're from, etc., all come into play. But also be very conscious of the specific organization that you're looking to work with, because in some cases the organization will support you. They will support you with your visas, with housing if you're lucky, etc. So they can really enable you to make that move.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. Really, it really does. It really is. Let's take a question from our listeners. I know that Samantha really had this good question. Let me see. Well, first, Samantha shares that I totally relate to being overbooked and spread thin. I think she was then referring to our busy schedule one. There's a next question that she has that says, "Great question. I actually worked for Imperial for a number of years. How do you go from ideating to identifying a solid co-founder?" Oyin, can you share a bit of tips on that?
Yeah, I'm wondering what she means by ideating to identifying. Oh, ideating an idea to identifying a
Yeah,
solid.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so from ideating an idea, it's so funny. When Charles and I started, we would sit down and literally just, be scribbling different ideas on a piece of paper. And I think, yeah, some ideas can come out of that. But I think that the best ideas really come from when someone has a personal connection to that challenge. So I think, think about the challenges that you have. What are the specific things that you wake up, you're like, oh, I wish that was a little bit different. That is where I think the ideas come, that number one will be like personally impactful,
Yeah.
but also that someone else will want help with, because you probably aren't alone in that. So I'd say, yeah, it's all well and good to kind of sit down and try and think about something, but often it really comes from personal challenges and observing the challenges of others. So that's the other thing I would do. When you're speaking to people and having conversations, ask them what challenges they have, where they think you can help them make their lives better, and ideas will come out of that. Yeah, in terms of identifying a solid co-founder, the first things I mentioned, I think, is really about reflecting on yourself, really understanding what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what do I want my co-founder to bring to the table, and then really explore that. Don't rush into it. Don't assume that if someone's your best friend, you're going to be great business partners. Really be thinking very carefully about what you want that other person to bring to the table. And number two, think about your values. Think about what is really important to you. Think about the change you want to make in the world, and make sure that you're choosing someone that aligns with you. Because as you've seen with, Charles and my journey, we've set up several businesses, but it's always had that same solid streak of collaboration, connection, purpose, because we have that same kind of natural connection in terms of our North Star and our vision. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, sure, it helps. And one question somebody else is also asking, what are some of the misconceptions that people have about working on the continent, and any region that is?
Yeah, what about working?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's this, because we talk so much about the brain drain, because it's so well documented, that Africa apparently only has 10% of the management talent that it needs. I think too many people operate in Africa thinking that they won't be surrounded by really, really smart people, when really what they tend to find is that it's just not, almost, the knowledge and insights aren't communicated in a way that you might understand if you're so used to working in an international, setting. So I think, yeah, the first misconception is that there aren't really, a lot of really skilled and talented individuals on the continent, and you're kind of going back and giving them something that they don't have. So I think that's
right.
the first thing. I think the second thing is that there's an idea for many that you can just take a model that operates in the West and then translate it anywhere in the African continent. So, if you take a company like Uber, when Uber launched into Nigeria, they had to take a very different approach to what they took in Kenya. So again, you look at the mobile, you look at the proliferation of mobiles and smartphones and data-driven software in Kenya, very different in Nigeria than it is to Kenya, which meant that in Nigeria they couldn't take that digital payments model. So yeah, big misconception is that you can just kind of take one model and dump it anywhere in the African continent and expect it to work, and also expect it to work without local market knowledge and without partnership with people that actually understand the local market context.
Yeah. So almost wrapping up, Oyin, I would really like to know, because I think that throughout your journey, seeing some say that seeing businesses grow, fail, and whatever, it's almost like therapeutic, because it gives you like a realistic view of life, and it it gives you an idea to be patient.
Yeah.
Could you give us maybe three lessons of how this has helped develop you in character, and as in your personal perspective towards your journey, growing your business?
Yeah. So okay. So how it has kind of impacted not just my professional journey, but my personal one.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I would say the first thing is that through business, I've really learned the importance of relationships, and the importance of just listening. So, moving back, I don't think would be anywhere near it where it is if the relationship between myself and Charles wasn't so strong, if we didn't rely so much on the relationship we have with all of our team, if we didn't, treat every individual that joins Movemeback as a human and do our best to communicate with them and
yeah,
understand their personal journey and use that as a learning opportunity so that
yeah,
we can increase impact. So yeah, I say the first thing that it's helped me really I mean, I knew it already, but it has helped me learn it even more, just the importance of really solid relationships and understanding and listening
yeah,
to others. um, I think the second thing that it's helped me learn is about the the beauty of vulnerability. I think a lot of us, when we come from a very professional setting, we come from setting, and when we have African parents, we're taught that
yeah,
failure is not an option. We're taught that failure is bad, and we're scared of failure. I meet too many Africans who are just so scared of trying because they don't want to fail, because it's
yeah,
seen as the worst thing. Failure in the startup community, it's a badge of honor. And the reason it's a badge of honor is because you do truly learn so much out of it. And through the businesses that Charles and I have failed at, we've taken all of those learnings into Movemeback. So yeah, definitely about like the beauty of vulnerability. And then the last thing is hard work. I When I started entrepreneurship, I said to myself, do you know what? I work 60, 70 hours weeks in investment banking and consulting. If I put half of that amount of time into my own business, I will succeed. I was wrong. I was very, 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 very wrong. Um, it's not just about hours. You work. I've never worked harder in my life than I have on my businesses. And I would say that entrepreneurship is probably the hard option. You won't be getting that paycheck every 24th of the month. You won't be getting someone telling you how great you're doing. In
yeah,
fact, every day you will probably learn something new. Every day you'll probably fail and learn.
yeah,
So yeah, I've learned that entrepreneurship is not the easy option, it's the hard option, but it's also so rewarding if you're doing something that aligns with your purpose.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Pretty much so.
And
Do
I
you
love
have
the
any?
platform.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I know you still have questions, because he's like, he said, I'm invested in
Well,
the
so
interview. So
yeah, I'm person. I love the platform. As in, not only does it um, create or provide the platform or space where suppliers and demand can meet each other, but it also prepares these people in meeting each other. So for one who's seeking an opportunity to go back, for instance, it provides tips on how to improve your resume or your cover letter and have that checked, and all those very good tips that will make you more, let's say, um, will give you a higher chances of getting that dream job that you find on their website.
Mhm.
And I'm sure on the other hand, it's also working together with the corporations or those that provide these opportunities, as in how to facilitate these candidates the best, and what they can offer more than just let's say a job or a vacancy at their corporation, which is extremely important, which goes back to the same fundamentals you're talking about, the relationship and that solid connection between people. Yeah, I genuinely I'm liking this a lot. I will have more. I'll spend more time on this website lately. Yeah, thank you.
That's where Oyin Solebo comes alive. That's why you're getting a full on knowledge experience on the platform. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Oyin, before we round up, lastly, do you have shout outs? Where can people follow you and find you? And one thing that myself and Donnie always ask, what are you
Yeah,
playing on your
awesome.
music playlist as of
Oh, I
today?
have one to share actually, but
You have
you
one
can
to
go first.
share? Oh, wow.
Yes, by here. You can
Yeah,
go first.
was that music to share? Please share because I need tips. Well, I'll let Donnie share this. um, but in terms of shout outs, how can people connect? I think the first thing is like join the platform. Please join the platform. You will get off the back of that. You will get. We're in constant communication. We're constantly sharing opportunities with our members via a bi-monthly newsletter. We are
I love
constantly
it.
sharing insights. So just news, understanding what is going on in the African continent. We do that every week via a publication called Pulse. So even if you're not ready to join the platform, at least sign up to get our Pulse publication. And
Yeah.
we hear from a lot of the individuals that are reading this that it's in many cases like that one weekly resource that they go to understand what is going on the African continent in every dimension, from intracontinental trade to scalable energy to proportional representation, etc. And I'd say follow us on LinkedIn. We share a lot of our insights there. And if all else fails, get in touch directly. I don't know if you're sharing contact details, but we have an
Yeah.
instant chat that is
Yeah.
available all the time, or get in touch with me via email. Would love to connect and support as many people as we possibly can.
Love it. And the playlist.
Well, this is the thing, Donnie. Please educate me. The funny thing is, I spend so much time at my desk, and I'm not one of those people that can listen to things whilst I'm working.
Sure.
Oh,
I'm distracted.
Sure.
music is
So,
life.
Love
my playlist includes at the moment. It's very, very embarrassing. It includes a lot of musicals, so I won't be embarrassing people with that. So, Donnie, over to you.
No. um, also, I don't know if you've heard of Jacob Banks. No, doesn't
No.
ring a bell. Oh my
No,
goodness. Well, so let's see. I think it was last week or 2 weeks
Is he
ago. He
Zimbabwean
dropped a Jacob Banks. Come again?
or Nigerian?
Yeah, he has something
No, no,
with Africa, but I'm not sure. But
no. He's
I think
Nigerian. He's
he's
British based.
Nigerian.
Yeah, yeah. He's
All right.
Nigerian, definitely.
So he dropped a single 2 weeks ago called Strangers, like 2.5 minute song. Beautiful. But
Yeah.
that song made me go back to his discography. In 2018, he dropped an album. I did not know about of this album, but one of the songs of it has been for the last few years. I think it has ranked in my top five Spotify playlist. Um, Beautiful song. But now
Which
I decided to listen to the full album, and the album is one of the greatest album I've ever heard and
which one?
listened to,
Village?
and it's the album is called Village.
Village, right.
2018 Jacob Banks Village. If you have the time, please listen to it. It is so beautiful. Yeah, I felt yeah, I had to share that one with you guys. Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing it. I've Googled him. It really looks worth, looking into. I like the fact that,
Mhm.
he's a Nigerian-born English singer from Birmingham. I like that. And I know Birmingham has a lot of good artists. So thanks for sharing, Donnie.
Welcome.
Oyin, we can't thank you enough for sharing knowledge with us, sharing the bits about your
Yes.
passion, especially the part about your why. Oh, I really love that. It really helps, us entrepreneurs to also grow and find
Right.
real meaning to what we do, opposing to just being there, starting businesses and making money. So thank
Yes.
you so much for that. Hopefully next time on we can also get Charles along, but I know how busy you all schedules can get.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah. So thanks so
Uh,
much. We will keep in touch, and we wish you a good Sunday evening.
Thanks so much.
yes.
It's been so lovely speaking to you both.
All right.
Thanks so
Thanks.
much. Okay. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right, Dottie. Here we are again, closing off Africa on Focus. We're gonna talk to a lot of interesting people. Yay!
New season, excited. Watch. You made me a little bit
Exactly.
nervous. Let me see.
No, no, you shouldn't
Yeah.
be. No, 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 you shouldn't be. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah.
Um, any interesting plans for this week?
Um, going to surf on that website. Like
Oh yeah,
I'm going to go through it,
yeah. And sign
see
up to that
jobs.
news. Yeah, sign up to that newsletter. Really, it
Uh,
gives me a lot of information worth sharing, and
uh,
about the continent.
yeah.
At the moment, I'm growing this online group on Facebook. If people who are Ghanaian,
Mm.
young Ghanaian professionals, and there is actually where I list a lot of the information on Africa that is shared in the
Yeah.
newsletter.
I'd never heard of this platform prior to your invitation
Really,
last week. Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
okay,
I've heard
right.
of it.
So we have
So
work to do.
we
We
we have
have
work
work
to
to
do.
do. We're working
That's
on
so
that.
important.
Absolutely, we're working
Nice.
on that. Yeah, thanks so much for spending this Sunday with me on another African Focus. Catching
Thank you
up
very much
next
for
week,
having me.
and looking to who we're actually going to have. There are so many like interesting people listed that sometimes I'm like thinking, okay, who are we gonna have on the show again? Let me quickly have have a peek. We have quite of an interesting one listed for our next week show, and that is
Mm.
let me see. We are talking to a lady from Amsterdam who is called Rachel. She's from an organization called Active Change, and she
Okay.
empowers youth in Amsterdam from African heritage, as in terms of how to prepare yourself well, for that professional career. I do believe as Africans, we do have to prepare ourselves a bit differently,
Yeah.
as in terms of where we switch on the assertiveness outside of the work field, and
Mm.
how we kind of put our energy and our motivation rightfully in a working place whereby we are
Yeah.
present, we are visible, and the people around us know where we want to go, as in
Yeah.
terms of career, know what we want to learn. We come into a work environment and people actually know
Yeah.
what we're here for, and what we
Right.
have to offer.
Extremely important.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I thought it was a good idea to have her on the show. And she would talk with us a bit, and then afterwards we will have one from Ghana who is
Mm.
how do you call it, making agribusiness very interesting for people abroad. You can basically sponsor an amount of money and then see a crop of they will grow your crops of whether that be fruit,
Yeah.
vegetable, or something. So you could become like an online farmer. So it's very innovative and interesting as we
That's
will
beautiful.
look
That's
into
nice.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
So I wish you a very good week, Johnny, and be catching up with you next week so that we can have our chit chat with um,
Yes.
with with people. And I think we should definitely keep asking, well, how did you discover your why? I think that's a part that I
Yeah.
would really love to see, more of our listeners like yourself and me to grow in that, discovering your
All
why.
right. Right. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
All right. Well, have a good Sunday. Be
Thank
sure to
you.
follow. And Donnie is, I think that you're present on Instagram now, right? Or you're not yet? Never mind. Make sure that you follow High Radio on all social platforms. at High Radio ML on the Instagrams, Twitter, and Facebook, of course. Follow me on Instagram, all of the platform at
All
MS.ABA.
of the
I
platform.
have a lot of other interesting news to share. Actually, music is coming out, so I'm really excited about that. But I'll be, updating
Yeah,
you throughout.
she's been launching music like hotcakes and videos and everything.
I'm working on it.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
stay tuned for that and have the best of Sunday.
All right.
Love
Bye
and
bye.
blessings to you. Bye bye.
Bye.